All right, hello once again, Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and as you can see up on the top of the screen, once again, I'm going over the Bootstrap 4 examples at the end of the Quackit.com Bootstrap 4 tutorial. In the first lesson, I went through the first 7 different categories. In other words, I went over containers, grids, typography, tables, forms, responsive or custom forms, I should say, and buttons. Now we're going to pick it up with images. Let's look first at a responsive image. Now, my guess is that this one is not going to work. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am, because I don't think we have the image. But let's check anyway. And we don't. All right, so let's change that to what they have there, which is this. There it is. So we'll change this from ours, and we'll say images / nature3.jpg. And let's see if we now have something in our picture. There you go. And as we come through here, you'll notice how it stays responsive at any size. The magic that makes that happen is the fact that what we're doing in here is we're saying class equals image fluid. Notice if I take that out. All right, so that's all I've done here is I've taken out that. Still looks the same here, but notice it hasn't expanded. It's just got its default size, and it's not at all responsive. Go back and add it in. You can immediately see how it becomes responsive. All right. Again, my goal here is not to go over each of these examples, but to give you enough stuff so that it'll make some sense to you. All right, image shapes. No idea if this will work or not, but we're going to try it. All right, we've got our four of them there. And let's change all these. So this will become images / nature1.jpg, images / nature2.jpg, images / nature3.jpg, and let's try one of our graduate examples, I guess. How about the images / grads2, and remember that one was a ping file. All right, so let's try that and see what we get. And notice, it doesn't like that one, but notice we've got rounded, squared, a round image, and it still doesn't like this. I don't know what's wrong with that. Let's just go back to grades 3, which was a JPEG file. It has nothing to do with the fact that that's a ping instead of a JPEG, to my knowledge. All right. Still doesn't like this. What is going on here? Grades 3. Huh. Well, let's just go back to reproduce one of the nature ones. Nature2.jpg. See if that fixes it. Okay. So you get dramatically different effects. In fact, I want to do this. Maybe this is a dumb idea, but we'll see. 3. I think that's the one I want. It's not the one I wanted, but let's change that to 1. And I know now if it's not 1, it's number 2. There you go. You notice there's a big dramatic effect between the way this looks and the way this looks. Okay, are they responsive? You notice that sooner or later, it's as responsive as it can be here, and it goes down to 1 column. Do we have an image responsive in here? Class equal rounded. I think that was what we had before, was image responsive, I think. Let's double check from the previous example that was here. Image fluid. See if that changes the way anything looks here. Okay, there you go. Gets out to a certain point, 2 columns, goes down to 1, but it's responsive, stays responsive, even down to a very small size. All right. That's enough with images. Let's look at drop-downs. Here's a basic drop-down example. There you go. The next one, they have a drop up instead of drop down. Again, that will all be predicated by where you are on the page when you're doing this, so I'm not going to go through that. You can align items to the right. You can look at a menu header example. Not going to be very much really to look at. It'll look very similar to what we did before, but now that's a header and that's a header. Okay. Button groups, again, as mentioned, you can have a horizontal or a vertical, and you can play with the size. Let's just do the horizontal and let's do the vertical. So there's the horizontal. They are looked at as one unit. There is no padding by default, although you can go in and add some, I believe, with CSS. So we look at this one, and the main difference, the main difference between these two is that when we look in here, we've got button group vertical, whereas last time it was button group horizontal. We'll double check that in a minute. There it's vertical. If I come back here and just change that from vertical to horizontal, let's double check and make sure that we get what we had originally here. And you can see we do. Okay. Input groups. Let's just look at the basic input group example. Okay, remember, thought there was a dollar sign over there, but it really and truly does not matter. All right, so we've looked at here images, drop-downs, button groups, and input groups. Collapsible content, I'm going to go through all 3 of these. Oops. This is where we had a link. You click and you see that it collapsed or uncollapsed, however you want to call it. Collapsed or uncollapsed, based on you clicking the link. The magic again that made that happen was data class equal collapse. All right, and then inside we had a div with a class of collapse. This was the collapsible content. This was the button or the paragraph or whatever it was that we used. Okay. This one again used a button instead. We can show that one. The first one was a hyperlink. The second one is basically the same, but instead of an anchor that we have here, we now have a button. Okay. So we've got a button there, but it works the same way. Right? Let me close these. Finally, let's look at the accordion example that's here. Again, this is the kind of content that you would typically use for something like an FAQ page. All right, let's look at navs, and then we'll jump up to Navbars, I believe it is it? Yep. So we'll do those, and then that will end this second round. All right. Again, you can use navs, and you can base them off of either a UL or a nav element. So let's look at both. All right, so that's an unordered list, so you know they're not. Okay. And the magic. You see class equal nav, and each individual one has a nav item. We also have one that's the active class, which is our first one. So you may not have noticed. Okay, nothing magical is happening on any of these. They're not linked to anything. If we look at based on the nav element, so what changed here? Class is nav, nav active, these are all links. Doesn't look any different, doesn't go anywhere. Okay. Jumping up and taking a look at the actual Navbar, which is probably what you're going to use more often. The basic Navbar. Again, what's so nice about this is all free code. All right. So it's not like you have to spend your time writing a lot of code. There it is. This can be replaced with an image. In the later examples, they show how you can move these three links over to the right. Let's show the fixed navbar. So when you fix it at the top, what we have there for the navbar, we've got these bubbles. This isn't going to work, so we're going to have to change that. Let's use what we had before, which was our images slash nature1. Let's use nature2.jpg. Okay, but what's going to change in here? Navbar fixed top. Okay? So you'll notice there's our navbar. This is just tiling, so don't worry about that. But notice how the navbar is not moving. It is literally fixed on the top. All right, if we look at the next example, and the main difference in this example is instead of saying fixed top, we're saying fixed bottom. Let's use a different one here. So we'll go to images / nature3.jpg. Well, it's not moving. I don't know what goofed up here. Oops. That's what goofed up there. So something's hosed, but the point is you see that that's not moving. Okay? Let's go back. I want to make that work. Okay, so that's what they had. Images / we'll do one of the grad ones. How about grads3.jpg? It's not a, yeah, it was a JPEG. Well, something is hosed and I don't know what it is. Weren't pings. But the bottom line is you still saw how when we did this, of course I've removed it now, I guess it's over here, that even as we moved up and down here, this stayed fixed to the bottom. Okay, I think that's about enough for this particular set of examples. So when we come back, I'll pick it up again. Let's do responsive navbar. Okay. Rather leave on a better note. What does their example look like? Just the same as mine right there. But I think the key might be in when we try to change the size here. See how that gets added? There we go. All right. Again, I think that's about 7. So we'll come back and we'll pick it up with breadcrumbs in just a couple minutes.